too. Thank you for playing that God's Boatman. I think Duty knows that I like that song and yeah, that rendition of putting those words together because it really encapsulates something that I think we want to keep in mind is well, last night we also celebrated. We had a satsang last night. Dion and I led one, and it was for Pan India. And when you speak to one audience, you're somewhat inspired to say certain words because it's depending on the audience, and you speak to a different audience, and you say something else. And I know last night there was that aspect of Master's work of inspiring us to go out and serve that work, to be in tune as and follow Master's instructions. If you want to be in tune with me, serve my work. And I kind of felt afterward that it was kind of ended up like a pep talk, to rally the troops to take Master's mission out. And it was sort of had that theme, which seemed to me in retrospect appropriate for that audience because it was broadcasting out to yes, the larger Ananda Sangha throughout India, and maybe some of you were participating in that as well. And absolutely, that's really really true, and it's really being needed, and it's what's being asked of us. But yet, there's here this evening we're speaking to, you might say, a smaller group than that. We're speaking in a sense, and this group we're speaking to Ananda Pune, although I suspect there are people joining us also from elsewhere as well. But in a sense, my audience that I'm speaking to here in my mind are my, you might say, my friends, that people that I know a little bit more. I know people throughout all of India, of course, but there's so many people that you can't have those personal relationships with all of them. Whereas with Pune, I feel like you're my friends. And in expressing that side of Master, that yes, we need to go out there and we need to serve, we need to do this, we need to spread his message because we're his disciples. Of course, we need to do that. But before that, you might say more immediate is we need to love God. We need to love Master. And that's really what we gather here in these satsangs, to come together and to express that, to share that. We love God. And out of that, when we love, we direct that love, but we feel that love. When we feel that love, the natural impulse is to want to share. Love God, as it says, and this is, of course, in God's Boatman. You sang so nicely, Duty. Love God, so I want to serve thee, so I can serve all. I want to love thee, so I can give thy love to all. And that's the natural impact or the impulse that comes to us. And I think here what we're coming together, yes, it's nice. We serve. We all have our ways to serve. Some of them are outwardly, others are inwardly. Some, have a bigger stage than others, but really there's no big or small. Love is just what it is. And all of our love can be taken from being a little love to a big love, a cosmic love. It's that doorway through which God comes to us as Master, a Prem avatar, a bliss avatar. We can walk through that to love God. And that's what the spiritual path is all about, to awaken that love for God. And once that is done, it's going to take its natural course as however people's disposition, however people want to express that, because you can't help it. When you love, you want to share. Now, I do want to say a few things, which I did say also a little bit last night, and kind of follow up on that a little bit. But thinking in terms of coloration, of colored with this theme of love, and trying to feel that, we are blessed, every one of us. And of course, there's many ways that, of course, we can be blessed individually, but particularly we're blessed to be born in an era during which a great master has descended. God has descended to bring a message into the world. And we perhaps are a little bit too close to it because we think, oh, okay, Master came, of course, it's a big deal about that. Pastors come and go, and you might have people who might have that attitude. But to be born at a time when a great Master has descended is tremendous, tremendous blessing in that era, and we're so close to him in you may one generation, two generations removed from that, and we have that opportunity. And Master said about, what when somebody commented about what a blessing it was to be up and living in ashram in Mount Washington. He said, yes, he says, but the rats and mice are on that hill with Mount Washington. They aren't making special progress just because they're on Mount Washington or just because they happen to be physically in Master's presence. It was for those who were in tune with that opportunity. They had the tremendous opportunity to be able to receive those blessings, to be able to receive to those who chose to receive. And so here we are, all of us, in this wonderful opportunity, and God has arranged this situation that we have a wonderful ashram group here in Pune, and we have a teacher who was a direct disciple, came down from Master, and that's unique. And then we have to step back and see what that is all about. Master once was commenting about there is this ancient tradition, I think you must know, that when a great one, such as the Master, comes into this world, that 7 generations are blessed forward and back in the future, even those in the future who are born into his family, and backward, and 7 who came before, there you might say their karma is softened or perhaps lifted, the protective aura. But who is his family? Who is Master's family? And so but those immediate family, they get a special blessing. And he was asked by one of the disciples, well, what about the disciples? Do they too receive a special blessing? 7 generations in the forward, 7 generations behind. And he says, absolutely, the disciples come first. And to have this chance is something we don't want to put aside. But remember, just to be a rat and a mouse on Mount Washington doesn't give them that special blessing. We have to be the ones who open our heart. And that opportunity is there particularly for us. And so I often, you've heard me enough to know that I used to talk about long distance running and things like that. And my theory of running that I was taught to me by my coach was that when you're going uphill, it's difficult and it's hard. Just keep going. Put one foot in front of the other and don't stop. But when you're going downhill, let it all out, because that is a special opportunity where you have gravity working with you, not against you. And so it is here. We're at that time where we have gravity of Master's presence, very recent, his blessings very immediate, the teachings close at hand, an ashram environment in which we are found our karma has brought us to, and we make hay, as the saying goes, farmers make hay when the sun shines, and not because you never know when rainy weather is going to come. So use this opportunity, I think, for all of us to awaken that love within us, which we have. And we have these special celebrations like this. And so many people have come this evening. That's wonderful. It gladdens my heart. But realize we've come at a time in history that our karma, of course, has drawn us to, but we have made use of that good karma to be able to then create new karma that will carry us, and added Master's presence, added his blessings, added to that karma. We're going to be able to make great spiritual progress at this particular time in history if we choose. I brought up in the Western society, the same applied to Christ, that many people thousands of years still follow those teachings. But I used to think, what it would have been like, to be right there. Would I have even recognized that significance? And I have to admit, I don't know. Probably not, maybe. Chances were many people, there were thousands of people that came across his presence. Were they all blessed? Well, to some degree, yeah, they were blessed, but did they all make use of that blessing? No, I doubt it. Well, here we are today, and we are celebrating his Mahasamadhi. And when the Mahasamadhi is a little bit different when we celebrate that when than celebrating the birth of Master. When in a sense, you look back a little bit when you celebrate the Mahasamadhi, or maybe you're looking forward, maybe I should say. It's because we celebrate his life as his birthday, but then we look toward his future, the legacy, that which he leaves behind when we celebrate or commemorate his Mahasamadhi, the impact, the larger picture. You might say, we celebrate his birthday, we look at that personality a little bit, his immediacy, and now we step back and it's like we see that Master was like a great ocean liner passing through and the tremendous impact, and you're on the shore as that pass, and we don't see it right away, but after that ship has passed, the waves that were created by that great ocean liner begin to lap upon the shore, and we begin to see those impacts. And I always, it just amazes me because I'm a student of history. And I always wonder, what was his impact? Why did he come? And of course, those leads to those eternal questions. Why was this universe created? What's the purpose of all of this, of his coming and going? And I feel very convinced in myself, in my understanding, that Master, this was just one wave of a very long series of waves that he's come again and again. 1 trillion times he says he'd come, as long as one stray brother remains behind. And that's looking forward. But how many times has he come in the past? And we are those stray children that are still wandering by the wayside. I mean, these questions, we ponder them, they're a bit unanswerable. I think this whole thing, you might say, is God's play, as it's often been described, God's play to enjoy himself through the many. And this whole drama or melodrama, or maybe it's a tragedy, or maybe it's a comedy, this march of souls coming onto the stage, marching toward final liberation, is what this drama is all about. And we are one of those actors in that play, marching ultimately toward soul liberation. I think this whole creation is just for that. God playing, each individual being a particular unique aspect, marching towards soul liberation. We're each, you might say, prodigal children. He threw these children out into creation as souls, and they wander back. Of course, my rebellious spirit says, why? What did I do to get thrown out into this world? And of course, it's impossible to explain. I'll know the answer will be known when it is known, when we find ourselves back into God. We say, like Master did when he was in that great samadhi. He says, Divine Mother, now I see, now I understand. And I've come to feel as the years have passed that there really is a divine hand guiding all of us to our goal. Just as Babaji said, maybe Babaji's hand guiding the spiritual unfoldment in this age, as said in the autobiography. It's all a great divine romance. God sends his only begotten sons into the world to act as redeemers, to uplift us. And he sends those God awakened souls again and again and again. Master came as a free soul. There was no incarnation or no compulsion. And we ask why, but it's God's play. It's the nature of bliss or joy to create, to expand. As I said, I like to, my mind tends to be somewhat impersonal and step back and see the rhythm in the longer range. And looking at Master's life, and I mentioned this last night, his life was absolutely transformative. It was in the era in which he came. It was such this, you were born and we think, well, our era is pretty much like every era, and I guess in some ways that's true. Each of us think our time is special, but I really do think this is a transformative time, has been a transformative time, and that's why in such times an avatar appears and Master came, because the world itself is going through such a unique, interesting time when we're transitioning, as Swami Sri Yukteswar, who we must also remember we're celebrating too, his Mahasamadhi, this team of heart and wisdom, Master and Sri Yukteswar, his guru, came in, as you could say, almost as a team into this era to introduce certain elements that will help us as a society and each of us individually as individuals to be able to navigate this. He introduced, of course, Master came immediately, we think of him, he brought in yoga and meditation, introduced it into a world audience. Now, yes, he was not the only one, but yet when the great saints come in, whom and many have come in this era, when they're sitting around, I suspect in some way he was the choir director, where they were all singing a similar song, but they were singing somewhat in harmony. And I think Master was in the background, somewhat orchestrating that, all the great ones. And Master, you could say, is the last in this line of gurus of Babaji and even Jesus Christ, including Nandalhiri Mahashai. They brought this a message that is going to be, it is impacting the world today, but it's going to continue. The ramifications of that ocean liner, a fleet of ocean liners, is going to affect the world in centuries to come, for this age, perhaps, of Dwapara. So let's see that and participate that in that spirit, the transition from one age to the next. To a large degree, we think we're repeated, it's repeated over and over again that we've entered a new age of Dwapara Yuga, but to a large degree, we still remain in Kali Yuga because it's the history that is informed the background against which much of the things that are happening is playing. We think in those terms. Materialism, this world is a world of matter, age of matter. Although our mind might tell us, no, we're in an age of energy, our thinking in what we relate that, we come from a background of thinking, no, it's matter. I'm separate. I'm different from you. This world is but a physical manifestation of electrons and protons. And that's how we think. And in all different ways, we're materialistic and we think in terms of form and those modes of thinking that were centuries old from the time of Kali Yuga. But we've come into a time when, because we're changing, it's very disruptive right now. But yet each of us, again, we have our responsibility as disciples to be the vanguard in ways of thinking. And we have to, these larger macro efforts or macro messages that the great ones, the avatars bring, we have to internalize that for our own sake, because that's the age in which we live in, but also to be instruments, like we've been mentioning here again and again, to be able to be instruments of universality rather than sectarianism, to be instruments of harmony in a time when there's a great deal of chaos. If we're not harmonious, if we're not cooperative, who will be? And if we don't put out the effort to transcend differences, who will? This is why I think it's nice that Master's work is a worldwide work. It's not, yes, he came from India and he represents that tradition. But as Sri Yukteswar said to him when he was going to Boston, forget that you're Indian, but don't become an American. In other words, be a universal citizen of the world. And that's what he represented. And I think that's what we want to be too. We want to honor our heritage, of course. We be loyal to our heritage, but it's like what Vivekananda said, it's a blessing to be born into a religion. It's somewhat of a curse to die in it. In other words, in a sense, I am a this, I am a that, which separates me from you. Universality, embraciveness of all people, and think in these terms. And we find that then we can, everything we do, we can share experience rather than belief. Don't take things just because it's been said. Other people say this, they say a lot of things. What is your experience of that situation? How is your life changed? His master, yes, these are all great teachings, and we parrot them, we repeat them, parrot them. Parroting is just repeating without understanding them. And we don't want to be a parrot. We want to be somebody who understands. And that comes from having experience. And our duty, you could say, we don't just meditate because it's a nice thing to do. We meditate because it puts us in tune with that larger message, and it puts us in tune with what each of us really want. We want that joy, and let us be representatives of our Guru. Think of it. I am a disciple of a great master, and he's with me at all times. And it's the love of that master that I feel when I'm in that presence. And if we can feel that, our Dharma will be guided. We will begin to find ourselves doing the right thing in every circumstances. As I've been repeating this, something I read recently, and I maybe have said it in this forum with all of you. He says, when we can learn to transcend, the waves of feeling of likes and dislikes, we unite ourselves in yoga, essentially. He says, we find that naturally we like what God likes, and what God likes, we like. In other words, we harmonize, and we don't have to think, what should I say? What should I do? It's just natural. Everything we do is in harmony with God's will. And we find that there's no possibility of doing the wrong thing because we have become one with that divine wisdom, that divine joy. And wouldn't that be just such a wonderful consciousness to live our lives in, to just naturally flow with grace? No wondering, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? That doubting Thomas of one's own self, of what is the right thing to do. Be in God's grace, overcome likes and dislikes, smooth the waves of all those feelings of likes and dislikes, awaken the natural love of the heart. If we do that, we'll find ourselves being in the right spot spiritually. Joy will come, happiness will come. We'll find that our life becomes smooth. It's the answer to all questions. And remember, coming back to where I started, this is a rare moment. We can make great progress at this time. The incarnations and incarnations, we don't know what we're going to be. We think because we're a disciple and I'm meditating that I'm going to be born the same, it's just next life's going to just take off, start from where I leave off in this life. Not necessarily, because all of us have vast amounts of karma that's hidden from our awareness. It's just that the circumstances in this lifetime aren't appropriate for it to be expressed. But all of that karma, who knows where we're going to be next time? And I think we come and go. The masters come in a lifetime. We may not be and have those circumstances next time, but we do in this lifetime. We're very close, very immediate to Master's lifetime. We've had Swami, some of us have come into our lives. We have an environment that is very conducive, supportive to what we can do. And so keep that in mind. To be a disciple of such great ones is such a great, great blessing. Make haste while the sun shines, and for who knows what tomorrow may bring. Coming back as to where I started, what's it all about, really? Being a disciple, celebrating, coming to these things, it's about loving God. Love God, love God. Don't be like that philosopher who came to Master asking him all those erudite questions all the time. It's fine. Those things are good. Our impulse perhaps is to ask them, but ask them from a position of the heart, love of the heart. When we love, we want to naturally give to our beloved, and the world around us is God. God behind the scenes in every one of our friends, our family. Love them with the love you feel for God. Love God so that you can give God to all. May God bless you on this Mahasamadhi day, and take these thoughts into your meditation and see how they apply to your spiritual life. God bless all of you. I turn